Hey everybody, welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. I'm CJ Lou, and we have a special treat today. We have Danielle MacKinnon, who's been voted one of the best psychic mediums by Bob Olson. I don't know who he is, but I noticed that he has voted people as credible. And and we're going to be talking to Danielle about her book, Soul Contracts, Find Harmony and Unlock Your Brilliance. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I find it really interesting when I talk to people who are mediums. They always mention this idea of a soul contract, which was a new idea for me about 3 years ago. But I've had several people talk about the soul contract, and the whole idea is before you actually. Let me see if I got it right. You can correct me at any point if I go steering off in some weird direction. But as I understand the soul contract, and these are, I think you would call them pre-birth contracts, is that before you incarnate in a body, you actually have I think, agree to some life lessons that you're going to be, you're going to incarnate on the body, and that lifetime will be about learning that life lesson. And then you agree with a bunch of other souls. And then your book said up to 1 million, up to 1 million souls to run into you during your lifetime, helping you learn your life lesson and keep on your path towards enlightenment. Did I get it right? Sort of, kind of.
Mostly.
Okay.
That's one kind of soul contract, is the pre-birth soul contract, where it's you and any other soul you come into contact with in your life, where you contract to help each other learn one of those soul lessons. So yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's surprising, there's even a bump contract. So, like, in the end, if you still don't get it, there's like some other event or person that will come in to like give you another boost. And sometimes these are not so pretty. Like, you get ill or someone dies or something like this happens, something catastrophic, to bump you into learning your life lessons. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, this bump contract.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like a plan B you set up before you come down into this lifetime. All right, if
Yeah.
I'm not getting this lesson and this lesson by this time, here are some events that will occur
Yeah.
that will throw me off so much so that I make the changes I need to make.
Yeah. It's.
I like bump contracts, but I like looking at them in hindsight. I don't
Yeah.
like experiencing them.
Who would like experiencing a bump contract? The whole idea of a contract to me incents me to like, well, I better figure this out because I don't want a bump contract.
Right.
Bump contract clause to come in.
Right.
It's an incentive. And I actually love the whole idea because it also gives me a sense like I agreed to this. At one point, now I've forgotten everything when I incarnated in the body, but I did agree to this at one point. These kind of things. It's kind of empowering to think of it that way.
It is. This is supposed to help me. Some people would look at a bump contract as a punishment,
Right.
but it's not a punishment. It's put there to help you.
Yeah.
So in my life, bump contract was I was dragging my feet. This is years ago. I was dragging my feet about leaving the corporate world and moving into this world full time because that's scary. I was scared about money. I was scared about, could I be successful? Is this really the right move? Despite the fact that I got messages from my guides, I got messages from cards, I got messages from psychics, I got messages showing up in book, like every which way I got
Yeah.
messages. And I was still like, I don't think I'm ready.
Right.
And the bump contract for me was the day that we signed the papers on our brand new house, twice as big, twice as much money as our last house. I got laid off.
That's a bump. That's an example of a
That's a
bump.
bump.
Mine's worse. My dad died. Like a bump. I mean, these bumps can be
Yeah.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
bad. Where you kind of
And
like makes you shake up and go, "What? Oh my gosh, I better get moving into something else."
or I better do something different, or I better finally make that decision, or I better stop doing whatever it is I was
Yeah.
doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I've mentioned this idea to my friends, and they'll say, "Well, how do you know that's true?" And I said, "I don't really know. I've just talked to several mediums, like 4 different mediums, and every single person mentioned this." And I thought, I don't know, do they go to a medium conference and agree that this is the story? I mean, how did you experience this idea of a soul contract? How did you learn about it and know it to be true to yourself?
Well, I didn't want to learn about it. I didn't want to do any of it.
Yeah.
I was still working in the corporate world, and my dog got sick, and I was still dabbling in meditation and dabbling, I was looking at other ways of being and living, and I was vegan, and, so I was definitely open, but I had been told my whole life, you're not psychic, there's no such thing, this stuff doesn't exist, you can't think things and have them happen, no such thing as manifestation, all of that. And so when my dog got sick, a friend suggested I go to see the pet psychic who was in town, in the town I lived in. And I had no idea that was even, I didn't know there was a pet psychic.
Right.
It was like the coolest thing ever. And this is a real long time ago, so this stuff was not, right now we can find it easily. You can look it up on the web. There's a lot going on, but at this time, it wasn't. So I basically immediately ran home, called the guy, made an appointment to show up at an event. He was doing a psychic fair. I showed up with my dog in the parking lot of the event for this appointment. He came out. I mean, he was really great. And he said, well, he looked at my dog, he looked at me, he looked at my husband. Now my husband's a scientist.
Oh,
so
goodness.
It's like, what are you doing?
That's a perfect pairing, because it's like, what?
Right. And all I could do is like, oh my God, I want this to be real.
Yeah.
I want this to be right and real, and I would love that. And the guy looked at us and looked at my dog and said, well, she's sick because she is upset. And she's upset because you and your husband have been fighting about your mother. And that was actually right. We were fighting about my mother-in-law, but I was good with mother.
Right.
I heard that, and from that moment on, it was kind of like a click for me. This stuff is real. I can do this. What have I been doing with all this corporate stuff and this MBA and all this?
Right.
This is my heart. I want to work with animals. I want to help animals. So I started helping animals. I started doing animal communication. I had already been doing it my whole life, so it was just believing that I was,
Yeah.
And I started doing private sessions, and that was going well. And I was helping people understand, well, he doesn't like his food, and she needs more hay, and he's pulling his feathers out because he's anxious because the window is open, or whatever the things were, because that's what the animals were telling me. And that was all really cool until until eventually they started not talking about that. And the animals started saying, well, actually, I'm pulling all my feathers out because I'm anxious because Jane, my human, is anxious all the time. And I'm trying to show her what her anxiety is like.
Wow.
And I was kind of like, that's cool, but, don't you just want the window to be closed? Like, I don't want to go tell Jane she's anxious.
Right.
And I resisted it. I was like, I don't want to tell her that. I don't want to tell him that. These people want me to fix you. I just want to fix you. I don't want to tell them about themselves. Yeah. But the animals kept pushing me to do that. And what emerged out of that...
Wow, I just got chills. Wow, so your animals were your kind of spirit guides or coaches to kind
they
of
were my
get you
teacher.
to the next thing. Wow,
they were my teacher. They taught me about animal soul contracts. So they were basically saying they had soul contracts with their humans to help their humans evolve. So after a while, I finally embraced that. And I said, okay, I'm not going to be a normal animal communicator. I'm going to be this other kind.
Right.
And I was like, all right, so here we go. I'm an animal soul contract animal communicator.
Right. I'm going to tell you your contract that you have with your particular animal that you made before you came onto Earth. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
So then, here I am being a not normal animal communicator, and I'm thinking, well, this is how it's going to go, and this is what I'm going to do. And then the animals started saying, well, I'm helping her work on her anxiety by showing her anxiety, but her anxiety is actually a soul contract within herself that she has to work on because she doesn't feel safe in the world. And I was kind of like, what?
Right.
that wasn't exactly where I wanted to go either.
Right. You're just going deeper and deeper into the psychology of your client. Like, wow, I know that your bird's pulling out feathers, but it's really because you don't feel safe in the world. Like, oh my God.
So, again, I'm resisting. Like, I don't want to tell this person this, and I don't want to go. And the animal was like, no. Go help her with her soul contract. Wow. And so then they pushed me, and then I started working with people in their soul contracts, and those are actually called lifetime soul contracts. Those, we didn't talk about that kind yet. Those are the kinds that where I find if you do your work on your lifetime soul contracts, your all of your relationships improve. You start learning the lessons behind all of the other soul contracts we were talking about, and then you start moving forward. So there's this whole connection thing that goes on that the animals brought me to, and that's really what I wrote my book about.
Wow. Okay, so the lifetime soul contract. So there's the pre-birth contract that you come
Yep.
up with, and then there are the bump contracts, and then there are
Yep.
contracts that we make with animals, and there are
Yep.
contracts that we make with relationships, right?
Yes.
That when before we come down, I mean, I just imagine there's a ton of paperwork before we come down. There's a lot of stuff that we have to agree and decide. How does that
I
even?
don't know. Don't you think they're more efficient and they don't use paper?
I don't. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's probably not paper, but it's a lot of stuff to think about. I mean, how do
Yeah.
you think? Did you ever dive into figuring out, like, how do you decide? And you've seen this because you've worked with people and their soul contracts. How many lessons does a person come in with before they come? I mean, do they agree to? They're like, I want 10, 100's too many.
Oh God, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
So the lesson I call lessons. They're soul lessons, and the average person will have usually 2 to 4 that they're working.
Okay.
But these are big lessons. These are lessons like I'm learning that you're worthy, learning that you're lovable, learning that you're safe and protected in the world, learning that you are good, wonderful, pure. And it sounds very simple, but so many people have these beliefs that say I'm not good enough. I'm not safe. No one's out there for me. I'm not protected.
Right.
And so all of their decisions are based on trying to fix that feeling.
Right. Right. They live their whole life, then they come into it incarnate in the body, and then there's this drive to kind of address whatever that, there'll be incidents or situations or people or animals that will help them discover that they have this fundamental belief, I'm not worthy, and then try to help them address it and move to the next level. Do you think that in terms of lessons, what is the lesson plan? Like, is there 20 lessons? Are they categorized sequentially based on one knowledge of the other? Do you have a sense of those?
The lessons are, and this is, I need water. Hold on. Okay. There aren't that many lessons that we're all working toward. Really, the overall thing that we're working toward is unconditional love with all beings, within ourselves and all beings. So that's kind of the umbrella. Within that, we've got really, I'm not worthy or deserving. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I'm not safe, supported, and protected. And one that I've seen popping up recently, but I haven't explored it a lot, is I'm not beautiful. So those other ones are kind of the 4 main ones, and they're just it's just all versions of I don't love myself, all versions of blocking yourself from your goodness, that wonderful brilliance that's there within every single one of us.
Right.
So you're not going to have 10, 20, 100 lessons. You might have to go through many events to learn the lesson.
Right.
You might have to go through many experiences around that lesson to get it, but they are very, very base lessons.
And they probably have very different flavors of it, right? Like, I'm not good enough for my parents. I'm not good enough for work. Does it, so that...
It would be, I'm not good enough, so whatever I do is going to be less than. I'm not good enough, so yeah, that's usually how it manifests. So I have to try harder. I have to do more.
Right. So that but the fundamental thing, if you trace it back to the big idea, the lesson is I'm not good enough. And so they may have come into different flavors of that I'm not good enough that someone would address.
So if you have I'm not good enough for him, or I'm not good enough as a mother, or I'm not good enough in my work, or whatever it is.
Right.
What I find is people will have it as well everywhere else.
Okay, got it. It's all I'm just good enough anywhere.
Right. But they don't know it. So there will be one area of their life where they feel not good enough. Like, no matter what I do, I can't get my career off the ground. I'm just not good enough to do it. That thing is going on. And it's annoying them and it's challenging them in that area.
Right.
But they don't notice that it's actually showing up in all these other little places. It's just
Yes.
not annoying. They've adjusted to it.
Ah,
So part of this is coming to the awareness of that negative belief that I hold about myself that is not true.
right.
I have to find it everywhere it's showing up, not just in the annoying places.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because they probably have little tendrils to the other place. So if you don't pull the whole thing, it kind of, you're just getting little bits and pieces, not all of it.
Well, you're not seeing how that thought is really affecting you and driving your life.
Right. Right. That makes sense to me. Fascinating. Okay. Now you come to make millions of agreements with folks, which I found fascinating. It's changed the way I walk now through the grocery store. I think, God, I've made an agreement that with these millions of people to come into my life at one point to help me along in my soul lesson.
Yeah.
Is that right? And it could be anyone, according to your book, right?
No, it's everyone.
Everyone?
Yes.
What? I have
Every single person you have contact with, you interact with, or you are moved by. So it could even be Tom Cruise
right. Ooh, okay.
has something for you to learn from them. And that
Oh.
something will apply to the soul lessons that you're working on.
Every single person. So the person or only people who kind of talk to me and offer guidance on my life, or just the person putting the stuff in the bags in the grocery. I
Who
have
gives you a nice smile? You know, a
Yeah,
pure smile that you didn't have to work for, and here you are thinking you got to prove you're good all the time.
right. And here's someone actually giving you a smile, proving that you're good, and you don't even
Yeah.
recognize it because you're putting your credit card back in your
Right.
wallet or
That's an
whatever.
opportunity for you to go, wow, I didn't have to do anything to receive that smile. It just came to me.
Interesting.
So it starts making, wait, maybe I am good without striving,
Right.
without proving, without trying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the idea of the bump contract. So you're getting kind of like close to the end of your life. You still haven't figured out your soul lesson. What happens? I mean, do most
Wait,
people
what?
figure?
Say that again?
Okay. Do people achieve their soul lesson at the end of their life, or is it sometimes they don't? And what happens if you don't achieve your soul lesson?
Um, Learning your soul lesson. So the people who learn their soul lessons as they go, let's not say at the end, but as they go, are the people who are waking up in the morning going, I'm so psyched for my life. And they're moving, they're grooving, things are happening for them, whatever it is.
Ah, okay.
People definitely, when you learn your soul lesson, so we didn't talk about this part yet. If you have a soul lesson to learn, I'm not good enough,
Right.
and you have soul contracts around that. Well, I need to prove I'm good enough, so I'm going to give to everybody. And I'm going to fly under the radar so nobody sees me, so they don't know that I'm not good enough. So you've got these little deals out there, these little those are lifetime soul contracts going on. If you have that system in place, when you finally really truly believe that you're good enough, like full on, like, all right, I get it, and I'm living from that place, you no longer have to fly under the radar. So let's say you were struggling to build your business, but it's because you were trying to fly under the radar at the soul level because that's what your soul contract said. When you don't need to do that anymore, your business naturally grows.
Hmm.
Make sense?
No. Tell me that again. So
So
so my life lesson may have been like I'm not good enough, and then
to learn that you are good
yeah,
enough.
and then connect that again. So that may be my
Okay,
pre-birth
so if
life
you're not
contract.
good enough,
Yep.
when you have a lifetime soul contract, if you're not good enough, that's what the lesson you're working on
Yes.
is.
Uh-huh.
You may develop a soul contract that says, well, I need to prove I'm good enough. So I'm going to give to everybody. They'll see how awesome I am. And when they see how awesome I am, that will make me feel like a good person.
Right.
Or you may say, well, since I'm not good enough, I'm going to fly under the radar and nobody will see me, and then they can't see that I'm not good enough.
Okay.
But those two soul contracts are in place to make you not feel the I'm not good enoughness.
Okay, got it. So they're
They're trying to alleviate
okay. Those are when
those
you said
negative
those are
beliefs.
what you call the lifetime soul contracts, where you
Yes,
think
so the lifetime soul
I get it.
contracts
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Lifetime soul contracts are overgiving and invisibility. And
Okay.
then when you learn, and learn means believe fully, embody that you are good enough, that you are wonderful, that you are awesome, there's no reason to fly under the radar anymore. There's no reason to overgive to prove how good you are. So those soul contracts release. And
Ah,
you get to live free of that. So there's now nothing in your energy saying, stay small, be invisible,
right.
because you are able to now just go, just do, because you believe it.
Yeah. Interesting. So
Wait,
then,
so I didn't answer your question.
oh, okay, yes.
Which
Four more
was,
questions popped up after that. Okay, go ahead.
okay, which was lots of people don't learn their soul lessons in a
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah.
And that just means they come back another lifetime and they work on them.
Yeah. Okay, got it. So nothing they and how are these, do you think, the life lessons assigned? Like when you get up there, is there like a board that gives you like, here's four other life, you chose this one, do you want to try the other three, or like how does it
The
decide?
way I've seen it happen is it's more linear. You keep working on I'm not good enough lifetime after lifetime until you get it.
Wow. Yeah, that's
But
incentive.
that's not punishment.
No, but it's incentive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're thinking, "Oh, I'm feeling I'm not good enough, but I'll figure this out," or I just not don't want to deal with this right now," it's going to come back a whole nother lifetime.
Right.
So as long as you continue doing that, anyways, I think that's kind of interesting. Okay, got it. So the way that the lifetime soul contracts work with your life lessons, they're synced up, right? Or is that right? So
Yeah.
the things, and do they usually fall? We pointed out two very strong categories. Either one, you fly under the radar, like what you find in lifetime soul contracts. Are there reasons why you aren't big enough and why you shouldn't do whatever? So that's one flavor of it. And then the other one is, tell me the other one. There's flying under the radar,
Overgiving. It's a
overgiving.
really popular one. I'm going to put way too much of my energy into this. I'm going to help way too many people. I'm going to overcommit. And when I do that and I give all this energy, someone's going to see how great I am and they're going to let me know what a good person I am. And then I'll feel good and good enough.
Ah, okay. So those are, and do they come in any other kind of flavors in terms
Oh,
of,
tons.
yeah.
Thousands.
But
Thousands.
but are those the two primary ones that you see? Because that's, no. What are some of the other ones?
um,
Because just for listeners out there.
Not speaking up.
Oh, huh.
Yep, that's a good one. Not, well, overgiving prevents receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're preventing receiving, you are not able to have support in your life, but you're also not able to have abundance. So a lot of people come to me because they want to, they're like, I have a vow of poverty soul contract and I want you to break it. And I look at them and I look in their field and I look inside and no, you don't receive well. You don't feel
Oh.
comfortable receiving abundance, support. So abundance is not just money. Abundance is also money, but it's also people coming into your life. It's also accepting coincidences from the universe. It's all of that. But they hone in on this money piece. Now that's just the most inconvenient, challenging part, but that not being able to receive will actually show up everywhere else.
Okay, so those are the different kinds of lifetime contracts that folks may,
Yes.
lifetime soul contracts that they may have. So so it seems like the benefit of those lifetime soul contracts are they're there to
They're
challenge
there
you.
to mess you up so that you go, why can I not get further in my business? Or
Uh,
why can I not find the love of my life? Or whatever it is. So that
uh,
you go, what's up? And then you start looking deeper and then you find the beliefs.
so they're meant to actually be challenging. So they have a positive intention because they're there to have us get to reach our full
Yeah,
brilliance and glory, as
you
you
got it.
said. But they have a challenging aspect. It's not going to be fun if you overgive or if you fly under the radar or if you can't receive, but you have to discover what that thing, what your particular flavor of not reaching that particular life lesson is.
Yeah, why do you
Got
have
it.
that soul contract?
I
And then
got it.
that's where you look for one of those four, the lessons.
Yeah.
I call them seed thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have seed thoughts that are then kind of coupled with discordant emotions, and then that create a root belief system. Is that correct? Or tell me about your model.
Say it again.
It's your model that I'm repeating out of the
Yeah,
book.
yeah. But say, I didn't hear.
Seed thought, a seed thought that then has discordant emotions around it. Like
Yep.
let's say I'm flying under the radar, or why isn't my business flourishing? Okay, and the seed thoughts are related to maybe fear or depression or sadness. Those are discordant emotions.
Oh, yes. The
Yeah.
discordant emotions. So when you, whoever, created these negative beliefs about yourself, usually sometime between the age of 2 and 5.
Right.
That's when you started going, huh, I think I'm not safe, supported, protected. I may not be good enough.
Yep.
Emotions came along with that. And the emotions that came along with that are what I call discordant emotions. So
Okay.
now, not only are you carrying around these negative belief energies, I'm not
Right.
good enough or I'm not safe, you're carrying around these discordant emotion energies of depression, sadness, despair, anger, rage, loneliness, whatever it is. So cut to today, 30, 40, 50 years later, you're holding these vibrations. So when you experience something, you're going to experience those emotions that you embedded when you were 2 years old. You're going to experience those emotions first because they're the
Ah.
most easily accessible.
Ah, interesting. Okay, so in some ways, knowing, kind of know your emotion is kind of your signal to aha. There's some type of feeling that I'm feeling that doesn't feel good, and then maybe what is the seed thought related to that?
No, you're going backwards. That's
Okay.
the hard way.
Okay. What's the
So
easy way?
the easy way would be to go, what's up? I can't get farther in my business, but I don't feel comfortable coming out as me, or whatever
Right.
that is. Well, why don't you feel comfortable coming out? Okay, I want to be invisible. I feel safer being invisible. Why do you want to be invisible? Because I don't feel safe. So
Okay.
then you're getting your soul contract, and then you're getting your seed thought. Make
Ah,
sense?
okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Got it. And then from that point, then you have a process in your book, the book Soul Contracts, Find Harmony, and Unlock Your Brilliance. Tell us what kind of the high level process is. We can't go through the whole thing, but what's the high level process of taking that seed thought and then the discordant emotions and then the root belief system? How does one deal with all this information that they discovered?
I have a lot of processes in the book.
Okay, got it. So
So
there's lots of options on what you can do.
there's a lot of options, yeah. But the idea is that you want to shift the belief,
Hmm.
release that negative belief, and that's what all my processes are geared toward, is helping you set your foundation energetically and then shift the belief
Hmm.
so that you can be free to do what you want to do. If you maintain that belief and you just try, all right, so we'll go back to the example of I'm
Yes.
not good enough with the
Yes.
seed, with the soul contract of
Right.
invisibility.
Yep.
If you go, all right, I have a soul contract of invisibility, I don't feel comfortable coming out as myself or
Right.
whatever it is, and you go, well, since that's a soul contract, I need to do the opposite.
Hmm.
Just doing the opposite, doesn't that seem like that would be the way to go? Like, I'm going to make
Yeah.
myself be visible.
Right.
I'm going to make myself come out more,
Right.
right?
Right.
But it doesn't work
Hmm.
because you still have the underlying seed thought, that underlying belief that says, I'm not good enough or I'm not safe,
Ah.
supported, protected, whatever it is. So it's like you're coming up against yourself the whole
Right.
time. You can't work on the soul contract, which is where everybody wants to work because that's the obvious challenging place. That's the
Right.
place that's bugging you.
Right. The
You want,
business isn't going. I want to figure that out. But really, you have to look at the seed thought then.
yeah, you got to work on the belief. Yeah.
Okay,
So
got it.
that the processes in the book are all geared toward helping you shift that belief.
Okay. And now, have you talked to folks that have used your book, Soul Contracts, Find Harmony, and Unlock Your Brilliance, that can kind of use this like a self help book? Like they can actually, because when I
Yeah.
actually did it, I was able to go through, I wasn't able to finish the last two chapters, but I got to, I only had a day or so to read the book, but I read as much as I could. So I didn't get to those parts yet, but have people actually been able to take your book and actually walk through the whole process and
Yeah.
remove all
Yeah.
these different pieces? Wow.
And I was using a version of the whole process before writing the book. And then as I wrote the book, I got even cooler parts to put in there that I was
Yeah.
using with people. So people have done it through the book. And then I've also walked people through it in the book as well. And
Okay, cool.
it's really cool.
It's
It's
an
really cool.
incredible gift because
Yeah.
as I was thinking about your book and thinking there's so many different processes out there. But what's really nice about yours is you go all the way from the beginning all the way to the end. And I think what's really interesting about it is that you get to the root cause,
Yeah.
which a lot of things, like you said, they get to the ancillary stuff. Oh, my business isn't
Yep.
working. Well, why? Well, I have a fear of scarcity, which actually is probably an issue, but like if you don't trace it all the way
But
back
why do you have a fear of
to I'm not good
scarcity? Why?
enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I find is most most processes out there didn't work for me because I had these underlying things going on
Yes.
myself. And I was always in conflict with myself.
Yeah.
So going deeper and actually just shifting the belief actually ended up being faster and easier.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
just picture, oh, I have to make myself be visible. I have to make myself not overgive. How hard is that? You feel like a jerky person when you say no,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But if you believe that you're a good person no matter what, it's okay to say no. You can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's way, way, way easier and faster.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was talking to my husband and I said, well, I don't, who's talking about something that went on and that we were arguing about yesterday. And I said, okay, we're going to take this process that I just learned in this book.
Which one?
I basically said, I started off with saying, okay, where are you right now? And like use one or two, three sentences to describe who you are, and then use three sentences to describe where you actually are having some challenges. And
Yeah.
then let's actually see the common ties. And so he described what was where he's having challenges. And I said, okay, well, if you think about your childhood, it's probably some unconscious belief that developed between ages 2 and 5 that someone else, probably a loving parent or teacher, was trying to do good, but they implanted some unhelpful belief about yourself. So I said,
Well,
what
they
was,
didn't implant it.
oh, what did they do then? They,
No one outside of you implants it. It's based on your experience. So you can have a loving parent or you can have an abusive parent. It's just your personal
uh,
experience of, hey, I'm not getting the love I need, or I feel like I'm not good enough. It doesn't matter. They could be trying their absolute best and doing an amazing
right.
job, but it's not meeting what you need because what you need is happens to be like this and they're giving you that. And so
Oh,
it's your experience. So you could even talk to somebody and talk to their parents, and they would have completely different experiences. The
yes.
parent would be like, I was an awesome parent. And the kid would be like, or the adult now, yeah, but you weren't that focused on me. Like,
Right.
just, so there's no implanting, it's more experience based.
So it's like what you take out based on that experience. The parent may have been doing whatever, but you took away, oh, what was it? And he said, well, it was, I'm not good enough, and I was like, that's funny because when I did the same exercise, I got, I'm not good enough. I mean, it's funny because I think actually part of it is just the human experience, right? I mean, it's part of, like you said, we have four, it's not like we have 20 or 50, we have four life lessons, and
Yeah. Yeah,
everyone's
up
probably
to,
got,
yeah.
at least a quarter of us have the same or
Yeah,
more
I
of one of the
find,
four.
yeah, and there are real patterns that go on of, okay, if you've got I'm not good enough and you've got I'm not safe, supported, protected, I know you've got da 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 da.
Yes, fascinating. Okay, so we have Danielle MacKinnon talking about her book, Soul Contracts, Find Harmony, and Unlock Your Brilliance. Get the book. If this it all resonates with you, go, oh yeah, I got that. I really think it's really fabulous works, and for folks in Seattle, Danielle is going to be here on August 22nd at the East West Bookstore from 7:30 to 9:30, talking about. Are you talking about your book? Is that what you're
I'm
talking
talking
about?
about the book the first night, and then the next day we're doing the book.
Oh, fun! So if you actually want to get a live hands-on, and are there any other ways that people can get a? Do you have videos or anything like that if they want to kind of,
Yeah,
meet
there's
about it?
videos on my website and lots of blogs and yeah.
Okay, got it. And so your website is Danielle Danielle MacKinnon
Yes.
MacKinnon.com. Thank you so much for being here. What fabulous piece of work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so up.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.